directing that campaign going forward. His style is one of keeping Donald Trump disciplined. The word is that Corey Lewandowski, and you heard Dana pushing him on that over and over, this point of this being the type of person who was basically pushing Donald to be more like himself out on the campaign trail. Clearly, this is something that worked during the primary, not a strategy that is working going forward. Brooke.
Jason Carroll, thank you. She's with me now, who conducted that excellent interview with CNN Chief Political Correspondent Dana Bash, and we also have CNN Politics reporter MJ Lee. So, Ms. Bash, I was sitting just around the corner of my office, watched every second of that, and I was just saying to you, I mean, talk about loyal to a capital with a capital L. If I had been playing a drinking game, and every time I heard Corey Lewandowski say I had the privilege too, I would not have been able to walk a straight line to you right now.
That is correct. Look. As Jason just touched on, Corey Lewandowski was kept on as campaign manager at a time when every other politician on the planet would have cut him loose, when he was arrested, basically, for physically going after a reporter. And Donald Trump refused to do it. And so the loyalty is going both ways here. I think that's a large part of it. I also think that I was frankly a little bit surprised that he wanted to come on and talk to me, and I will
as long as he did,
and he stayed in as long as he did, and he, it is not in his interest to air the dirty laundry in public. There's no way it's in his interest, and it is in his interest to talk about what is very real, which is a pretty remarkable primary run that he helped guide.
Lena means staff.
Lena means staff. The many questions that went unanswered were, I think, the obvious ones now, which is why couldn't you make the transition and the pivot from there to the general election, and the very real questions about the fact that his personality, his persona, the way he treated people, was kind of almost universally known to be way aggressive and over the top, and the way he described it was. I can't remember the exact words, but basically it was Popeye, I am who I am, and I try to
I'm
be
not
straight
smart
with
enough to
people.
tell a lie, was what he said.
Yeah, so that's the case. I did not expect him to come on here and start telling tales and to say terrible things about Donald Trump, because A, that's not who he is, but more importantly, just in terms of kind of the raw politics of it for him, it wouldn't serve him well, because he's so inextricably linked to Donald Trump, even as and especially as Trump fired him.
Well, let's get to, so he says he doesn't know why he was fired. He says, it wasn't two security guards who walked me out this morning, it was a friend. But to you, MJ, I know you've had reporting on stories apparently he was going to plan about Ivanka's husband, which you asked him about, and he, we didn't get anywhere on that. Tell me more about the why.
Yeah, I mean, I think what's been so striking in all of the reporting that I've done, Dana has done a lot, and all of our reporters on the CNN Politics team, is that family was really crucial in the ultimate decision to fire Corey. That there were meetings and conversations between Trump and his children, including Ivanka Trump, Trump's daughter, about sort of the growing concerns about Lewandowski's role in the campaign and the direction that he was leading the campaign. I think a lot of Republicans have noted that there seems to be a fundamental misread on how you run a general election campaign, that it is so different from running a primary campaign. The messages and the rhetoric that works during a primary campaign is really not the same message that works well in a general campaign, and it seems as though Lewandowski, according to many of the sources we spoke to, seemed to be sort of egging Trump on to say things that were inflammatory and sort of unacceptable to the party. And I thought it was really interesting. Dana tried really hard to push Corey on questions about whether he was involved in sort of encouraging Trump to use some of this rhetoric, and he never once said, no, I did not, or I tried to stop Trump.
The speech after Orlando.
He defended and explained why Trump said what he said and presented the policy he did after Orlando, and defended and explained why he said what he said about the judge.
So if it was really more about the family, and we know how crucial behind the scenes Ivanka Trump is, Then there's the whole arc between, he described initially that Paul Manafort was brought on to handle delegates. Once that sort of went away, they had different roles. He said they got along great side by side. And to your point, which you kept hitting at him, is, he kept pointing out the successes and the unprecedented turnout that Republicans have had this primary season. Why not then, if you have been there from the get, would you not want to stick around and fulfill, and as he would hope, see Trump become president?
Right.
I mean, he didn't really have an answer.
Right. I mean, and I think it's hard to say, especially when it happened just a few hours ago and he didn't know what was going to happen.